Hi, I'm Kennedy-Crosby. I'm here with MassCann's eighth panel. Today we're going to be talking with New Jersey Weedman, Ed Fortune. I ran into NJ Weedman a couple years ago while he was defending himself in court. I had no idea who he was. We were waiting outside for a couple hours while the judge and the DA and himself deliberated what a certain word was. I can't remember which word it was at the moment, but I was very impressed by Ed's conduct, his demeanor, and how articulate he was when he was addressing the court, and how he managed to beat the law in one of their best games. So without further ado, Ed Fortune.
Hey man, how you doing? Thank you, MassCann's, for having me on. And yeah, Pearson, that brings back memories of that trial. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember we had to take a public recess for a while to discuss something. I don't remember if it was a word or somebody said something. They thought it would influence the jurors, so they had to poll the jury or something. I do remember that.
Yeah, no, that was I was put back by not even hearing about it. I think you were already held without bail for a couple hundred days at that point.
Yeah, eventually turned into 447 days. And I think the beginning of my trial was like 420 days. So I think that was about when you came.
Yeah. No, I think the most impressive thing is a choice that you made pretty consciously was to defend yourself. Do you mind talking a little bit about that?
You said that, I say it again, my choice?
Yeah, you made the choice to defend yourself instead of having a...
Well, see, I've been a long-time advocate of jury nullification, and my plan, my guide, the way I think it should be used, the person should represent himself. In a trial, I don't think a person should have to represent himself by himself, but I think the person should speak and address the jury themselves. And me, myself, I've read about jury nullification since I was a kid. I know some of the historical times it's been used. And I think with marijuana now is one of those times where the public don't really agree with the law. More people think it should be legal than don't think it should be legal. And if you transfer those numbers and put them on a jury panel, and the person is charged with a weed charge, that person should be able to argue that the law is wrong, and the people should be able to, on the jury, say, agree and say not guilty. So I've been advocating for legalization for a long time. In my area of New Jersey, I'm pretty much like a local personality, a celebrity. People know me. So I knew my jurors would know that, the weed guy, I call myself sometimes, besides the NJ Weedman, I say I'm the Robin Hood of reefer. I'm always saying I'm the David versus the Goliath of government, things like that. So I know people know me. Even when they filed the case that you actually came for, it wasn't really a marijuana case. It started out as a marijuana case, and then they charged me with witness tampering, which was a bogus charge. I think they knew they couldn't get me on a weed charge, so they tried something different. And the results were the same. The people in the jury didn't go for it. They saw it was really like a vendetta by government officials against me. They thought the charges were trumped up, and ultimately they said not guilty. And I believe, getting back to the question, that if I had sat there next to a lawyer in a suit and tie, and that lawyer did all the talking, then it's not the same. I look like a defendant. I look like somebody who did something, and this guy next to me is defending me. But no, when you represent yourself, like prior to even trial starting, during the jury selection process, during the voir process, the question and answer process, the jurors would hear me speak, would hear me talk, would see me, would be able to interact with me. I had eye contact with them. And I think that when a person represents himself, they give the jurors the opportunity to bond with them. Instead of looking at me as a defendant, as a criminal, they get to understand me a little bit. And, I think it works in my favor to represent myself. Over the years, I've had 5 trials in 20 years, and I've represented myself in all of them. And I've had some very, very good luck doing that too. 2 hung juries, 2 acquittals, and 1, they offered me such a sweetheart deal right in the middle of trial that I took it. I'm one that says I would never take a deal, and I never will again. That was my first one, my first trial, and I took them to the brink. And I took right in the middle of trial. I thought I was going to win. I had jurors shaking their heads because they liked me. And that was in 2000. And I took a deal under one stipulation that after I take the deal, I get to poll the jury. And believe it or not, the judge felt the same way. The judge wanted to know how I was doing too. So they let me tell the jury that I took a deal and then poll them to find out how I was doing. And 5 hands went up for acquittal. So I would have got a hung jury that time too. And ever since then, I said, I'll never take a deal again. I think it's crap when a talking head, a lawyer talks for you. You look like you're guilty. And, the jury based their opinion based on the facts presented. And I think when you represent yourself, you get to bring other things to the table. You get to draw a little sympathy. You get to bond with the lawyers and bond with the jurors. And that's why I always choose to represent myself. And I think that is what the founding fathers of this country and of England, they envisioned when they had, they allowed for jury trials, and jury trials of your peers. It was designed that the person who was being charged with the crime would be, stating his position versus the state. Yeah. And the people were supposed to be the neutral party that would decide the guilt or innocence. And, over the last couple hundred years, that's pretty much changed in America for sure, where it seems like lawyers do all the talking, all the arguing, and it's not really about the person versus the state, or dispute about law. It turns into, this criminal versus the system. And, I think I take that away by representing myself. I take that advantage that the government has by representing myself, because people naturally look at the little guy anyway. People naturally bond with the underdog, and I always come off as the underdog.
I think just being so jury nullification is when a jury believes that what you have committed, though you sometimes admit that you're guilty. I mean, you admitted that you're guilty after the fact, but the jury believes that it is an unjust law, and therefore they won't find the person guilty.
That's the main definition of it. When a jury disagrees with the law itself, then they don't have any compulsion to find a person guilty of violating that law. Jury has a right to render a decision based on their own consciousness. Is kind of another aspect. And, sometimes they just think the law is being misapplied. For instance, my last trial, I think, and I've talked to a couple jurors since, it was basically being misapplied. I was charged with witness tampering, but they knew I didn't witness tamper. I was exercising free speech. I was calling my rat a rat. He was a rat. And because I posted his name and picture and said he was a rat and put it on Facebook, the state said that I was witness tampering when I said no. I was getting information from the public to use against my accuser at trial. And, again, that's where I think that the jurors saw that the law was being misapplied to me. And that's why they found me not guilty, because I did every single thing they said I did. Every single thing. There was a few things I was surprised they didn't bring up, but I did it all. But the jury still found me not guilty because they felt that the law was being misapplied to punish me, like out of some vendetta. I keep beating the state. I flaunt things in their face. People know that. And they expect the government to react sometimes. And that's what happened with that case.
Yeah, no, I've seen it firsthand. I still have to give there's troopers, or the New Jersey state troopers, a hand of applause for not really laying hands on you when you're lighting a joint in front of the State House lawn. They're upset, but they kept their cool. I was impressed by that. But that's it. That's like the basis of America, though. I mean, we rebelled against Britain, came through it, and there were a group of very intelligent, rational men and that sat down and tried to make a flawless government idea up that was really for the people, and you proved that still somewhat holds today, but we don't see it very often. There's not a lot of people that are willing to go to those lengths that you have, and it brings up the taking the plea deal. 97% of court cases, from the last I read, go to a plea deal, criminal cases, because there's so much risk of getting maxed out on your charges, your imprisonment, your fines. They just most people just take the deal and get out of there, or wait until they get out of there. I think it's bold, and I think it's probably one of the most American things I've ever seen. And
yeah, I think plea deals, and I've written about it too. I think plea bargains should be considered bribery by the state, because everyone has a right. They have a right to a trial. But what the prosecutors do, or the police department, or whoever the authorities do, is they overcharge people, they threaten them, they have them scared for their entire life, and then they offer them, or should I say bribe them, with leniency. And what the bribe is, they offer some leniency if the person would plead guilty. So I think these guilty pleas, most of the time, are obtained through bribery.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And there's been a few people who've challenged that, and have had some limited success, but it's just so few people to ever argue any of these arguments, because over the last 200 years, the Bar Association has taken over the courts. And, it's not in their interest to have people doing stuff like that, because it takes away from the money of the Bar Association if people are representing themselves.
Oh, absolutely. And it puts a lot more work. The police officer has to do more work. He has to come in. The DA has to really investigate, actually bring together a case on your specific charges and prove that, instead of oh yeah, all right, I'll take the misdemeanor instead of the felony with non-reporting probation, so something for But there's like some steep first time consequences for a lot of things, and I'm specifically talking about non-violent charges. I think I personally put there's two different categories of I don't even consider anything that I don't really consider much that isn't doing anybody else harm besides yourself a crime, but that's just me personally. But
right.
the violent crime stuff like that, I think they should hold up, but I'm getting away from myself now. So right now in New Jersey, they're getting ready to put out a poll or in the voting stands to vote for an amendment, a change in an amendment.
Yeah, it's a question on the November ballot, and the question is pretty broad. But the question in November will basically be asking if the people of the state wish to change our constitution to allow for the possession, cultivation, and distribution of marijuana, and that's what the question is asking, basically that. Now, but the backstory on that is our state legislators have tried for at least the last 2 years to legalize marijuana. But how they were planning on doing it was really not legalizing marijuana, it was corporatizing it. It was saying that these big monopolies, these big companies, they're going to license them and allow them to come and sell, possess, grow marijuana. And the people would not be allowed to grow, possess much, or do any of that. And I just thought I think that's unfair. So while I still say I'm a legalizer, while I'm still in 110% in favor of legalization, I'm against this plot, this scheme that our politicians are attempting to do. And like I said, they're attempting to get the people to vote for this question, and then they're going to slip a bill similar to the one they couldn't get passed before, the 2703. They couldn't get it passed in the state legislature. So then they said, well, we're going to go to the people. And that sounds great. But like I said, they're expecting the emotions of the people to say, yes, we're going to vote for legalization. And what their plot is not really legalization. The plot is to get people to vote, to change the amendment. And then a small group of politicians are now again going to present a bill amongst the legislators and then call that the legalization bill. Now, I call that a blank check. Now, they could have put the entire question, could have been, all of the above. Like, are you going to allow possession, growing? Would you allow expungement? So you could have put it all into a question that the people would vote on, to actually vote for legalization. But that's not what they're doing. They're doing a blank check method where the people are voting for this question. And if you say yes, then that gives the state the right to then write the law. And that's where the people get screwed. And I've been advocating for the little guy for the longest. And this right here, this means of legalization, like a person like me, I went to prison for marijuana. I've been caught with marijuana numerous times. I've been selling marijuana off and on for 30 years. And I can't get into this scheme that the state is proposing, because they're proposing just big corporations. They're writing the laws that only you have to have all these corporate structures and assets and $2 million and stuff like that in order to grow. Whereas I know I can obtain a small property or so. I've done it before, and I've grown numerous times. As far as selling goes, no problem. I do that now. Why do you need this big corporate structure to put some marijuana in a jar and sell it to your neighbor? You don't need a $5 million building with seed to distribution security. It's not. Yeah, it's not a nuclear fission material. It's 100% natural plant.
It's never killed anybody. So in Alaska, I think we did it pretty in that aspect. We did it in a very forward way where it really deters big business and outside interests to come into the state with the cannabis industry. You're not allowed to have outside investors. You can't be a resident up here. Or you can't be a non-resident with a license up here. And the licenses are anywhere from $1,000 to $7,000 with a yearly annual due. Now, granted, we have
And that's affordable. That's affordable
Yeah,
to like the average guy.
absolutely. You can have a limited indoor grow. It's up to I believe it's up to 500, maybe 900 or 9,999 square feet. And then the unlimited grow is 10,000 plus. And they're in between $2,000 and $5,000 a year, but not a year. The initial fee, I think it might have just went up, and then there's an annual like 1,000 or two a year. But you can grow in a 500 square foot building as long as it's far enough away from school. You have all your paperwork in, you're paying your taxes. It's I don't want to say it's as simple as that, but I mean I've been into probably 100 cultivations up here. Maybe not that much, but they're all. I mean, some of them are mom and pop, some of them are real professional big grows, and it's an incredible thing how the market flows up here. I know that they have their downfalls, especially with the $800 a pound tax for flower. Right off the top, it's $50 an ounce for taxes to a cultivator.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what they're selling pounds for in like Washington, right?
Yeah. Well, I was split over that before because I went to prison for it a couple of times, so I can remember saying things like taxation instead of incarceration. Like I would have much rather have paid taxes on the weed I got caught with than to go to prison for it.
Yeah.
So I remember saying things like that. Right now, I feel like I can say, no, I don't want no taxes and things like that, but let me get caught. I'll probably revert again. Like, yeah, I'd rather pay my taxes here.
Yeah. And they're strict with the taxes up here. They'll revoke your license real quick if you're not following the payment plans. I used to do drops for retails and cultivations up here to the IRS box down in Anchorage. And I pay federal tax. I'd go drop off cash for federal employee taxes for cultivation and retails. It's crazy how it doesn't matter if they think it's illegal, as long as you're paying taxes, they're not going to mess with you.
Yeah, unbelievable. The hypocrisy of it all. What irks me right now is former state officials are now beginning to dominate our local marijuana industry, or what they propose to be the local marijuana industry. And it's like, wait a minute. These are the guys that just 20 years ago were advocating for guys like me to go to prison for selling weed. Now they are trying to sell weed, and they're excluding guys like me, guys that they put in prison, guys they wrote laws for and voted for this bill and that bill, and now they're writing the bills and laws to exclude guys like me for doing the same thing they sent me to prison for.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's everybody. I mean, who you fought for? We all fought for legalization through not resisting the laws, openly talking about it, and making it familiar and regular to all Americans. From Cheech and Chong to Snoop Dogg and now TV shows with the mom stepping outside to smoke a joint, or weeds, or the sitcom with at the what is it, Disjointed?
Yeah. There's a bunch of them out there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It makes it regular, and the reason we're all right with it being regular in society is because people like you who have been doing it for years, risking your life, your freedoms, and it's to not even be able to grow a plant in your house after all that, like it's insane. Especially like you said, the lawmakers are potentially catering it to themselves. But it's it's a it's a crazy time, especially with everything that's going on. And this, I don't think anything's ever been this booming in our lifetime or our parents' lifetimes. What is the cannabis industry? I think it's one of the biggest growth markets in in hundreds of years.
Well, and that's all come to a screeching stop because of this coronavirus.
Yeah, yeah. How are you faring with that?
Say that again.
How are you dealing with that?
Well, again, it's one of them times I have a split decision on that one. My restaurant, for your listeners that don't know, I have a restaurant along with my partner Debbie Medeo, and my restaurant is called NJ Weedman's Joint, and it's right across the street from City Hall in downtown Trenton, New Jersey, the capital of the state. And you know, we were doing a pretty good business just 6 months ago. You know, I went through a lot before, but you know, we had made a comeback and we were doing pretty good, and then all this happened. So the restaurant itself is not doing as well. You know, obviously we can't have people come in. We can only have grab and go, takeout, and a lot of people just don't come. We have Grubhub and DoorDash and things like that, so we do have a little bit more delivery service than we did before, but we don't have the sit down. You know, before we had people come in, and you know, I have a lounge on the other side where people smoke illegally. People smoke. I provide marijuana, you know, which again is illegal, but I do it. And we, you know, so I was doing a pretty good business prior to this virus. And now the restaurant itself is doing horrible as far as money wise goes, as far as generating income. But on the other hand, my personal marijuana sales have gone through the roof. You know, I don't have to, you know, I guess a lot of people are sitting at home smoking weed. I even lowered my prices, believe it or not. You know, like I was getting $40 an eighth, you know, $2.50 an ounce. You know, I lowered it to 30. Quarters at 60, $2.40 an ounce, and I'm still doing so very, very well. I'm going through a couple pounds a week, and nobody bothers me. I haven't gotten arrested. You know, I started out a year and a half ago just mad when I got out of jail and said, hey, I'm going to sell weed just like the white guys, just like those politicians and all that. And like you witnessed it. I was just so mad when I got out of jail. The first couple months I was out of jail, I was doing things out of anger. And you know what? Nobody ever came to arrest me. I thought they were going to arrest me within weeks, and they never came. And at this point, if you Google dispensaries in New Jersey or anything like that, I come up. You know, like, and I'm not legal. So it's the 7 dispensaries that you know, under Kuma, the ATCs, and then Weedman. And there's so many articles and so many things online that just says, hey, this guy openly sells illegally. And I do. And I haven't been arrested. Now, again, if I am arrested, which was my goal at first, if I am arrested, then it gives me a podium to fight publicly again and show people that, like, we can win. And how is the government going to tell me I can't sell weed and let these guys sell weed? So, you know, that was the genesis of my argument 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, when I got out of jail, that I was going to sell weed just like the white guys. And I know people are, oh man, that's racist. Well, listen, I've been looking at the war on drugs, the racist aspect of the war on drugs, my entire life. And now the race card is in my hand. And that's what people seem to be mad about. No one seemed to be mad as the race card was dealt to me, was, you know, being used against me. But now I got the card in my hand, and hey, look around. That's what's happening. Guys like me went to prison. People, the black market, not just black people, the black market went to prison for selling weed. And now, generally, it's just rich white guys that are selling weed down. That's what the market's turning into. That's who's being legalized. So, you know, as a FU to the system, I created this hashtag, sell weed like I'm white. I made an announcement that I was going to start selling weed like I'm white. And I've been selling weed like I'm white for the last 18 months, and nobody's arrested me.
There you go.
And I,
You always add like white collar at the end.
yeah, well, it goes back to the jury nullification thing, though. It goes back to the jury nullification argument, because obviously if I get arrested, then my defense will be I'm being prosecuted and I'm being arrested because I'm selling weed while not white. And there will be people in the jury that will hear me and understand that argument. They will just look. I'm telling the truth. And I don't think the state can get 12. They might get 1 or 2. They might even get 5. But I only need 1, and they know that. I only need 1 to get a hung jury, and I've done it before. And the local prosecutors, the local police, they all know. Well, if we prosecute him, he gets to be the Robin Hood of reefer again. He gets to fight the system, and everybody's rooting for him. He doesn't take plea bargains. He goes to trial. So he goes to trial, and he's going to win. So I think that's what the local lawyers have said to me. That's what I believe. And so far, that's what's panning out to be the truth, that they're not arresting me. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not just doing it to rub this in their face. I want to force legalization. I want to force people like me into this legal market. I want to show the system that the people will accept this. I think that I wish there was 1,000 guys just like me. That's what I really wish. There was 1,000 guys, like whether they're black, white, green, or blue. They should say, listen, this is a natural commodity that the people have been using for a long time, even during prohibition of pot. And we reject this corporatization of everything. And that's what they're doing. They're corporatizing it all and taking it from the little guys. And I just refuse to concede that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's so many people have been fighting for it. And it's like it wasn't a big enough percentage. It wasn't accepted enough. There was too much of a firm grasp on stereotypes, the war on drugs, or the egg in the frying pan type stuff, or melting onto the couch. Nobody wants their kids like that, so we have to destroy the weed man, And so what do you think prepared you for something like that? Like you were in the Army, weren't you? Did that have any effect on like understanding government or being able to
No, well, I don't think it has anything to do with me like understanding, say, the Constitution specifically. But I've always felt like I was a patriot. When I served my time in the Army and on Army National Guard and stuff, I did feel like I was doing my patriotic duty and things like that. But I was always a reader. As a kid, I like reading. I'm a nerd like that. Even now, I hardly ever read books anymore, but I'm constantly reading things on my phone, on my internet. I don't really listen to music or watch sports. I constantly read things. And I used to, for some reason, I got hooked on reading, like, civil rights cases, history. I even like old precedent cases. I'll pick up my phone sometimes and just Google some old case and just sit back and read the legal decisions and the rationale of how I got there. And, I don't know if you know what shepherdizing is, but that leads you to shepherdizing, where you're reading one article, one law.
Oh, yeah.
And you end up like, you got to read this other one in order to understand this one. So I've been doing that for years, and those little things help me when I'm fighting the state myself. It's like the guys who win Jeopardy. I've got these thousands and millions and millions and millions of little bits of information in my head, and it doesn't really come out most of the time. I sound nerdy if I tried to say it, talk about some of the things that are locked in here. But with certain things, it comes out. Like in court cases and stuff like that, I feel like I'm a beast there because of all the things I read. Whereas I could probably play Jeopardy and do pretty well too. But walking down the street talking to the homeboys, I sound like a nerd. But it has its advantages to be like I am. I've always absorbed what I read. And I think that helped me more than, say, being in the Army. Even though I enjoyed myself when I was in the Army, hey, I probably never would have went to Germany, for instance. I was in Germany. I visited a lot of Europe. I saw, Italy. I've seen Czechoslovakia. I've been to Holland. Like all these were because I was stationed in Europe when I was in the Army. So it did have its advantages. And hey, man, I feel like it's one of them things. Like I think a bigger percentage of the American population should join the military. I don't know if I'm down. Sometimes I think about it. There should be some type of mandatory service, but I do think that there should be a bigger percentage of the population should participate in military service.
I agree. I think with the way that the things that it teaches you that you don't necessarily learn growing up in like a family atmosphere or whatever, or what have you as a child, and then it's a lot different than going to the frat party on the first weekend of college at 18 years old.
I still remember my drill sergeant. You still remember your drill sergeant?
Oh yeah.
The first one.
Yeah. There's a Staff Sergeant Martinet, Staff Sergeant. Now I'm on the spot.
I know. Drill Sergeant Robinson, Huckabee. I remember Thompson, Robin. I remember my whole staff from that basic training. And you know what? Them guys did teach you a lot. You knew who the quitters were fast, and it taught you perseverance. I mean, there's a lot of things that the Army taught you that first week. Since you mentioned like it beats frat parties, I actually did college too, so I know what you're talking about with the whole frat party thing too. So I did the frat parties and I did basic training.
Sorry. So it's senior drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Martinet, drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Tran, and drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Diorte. I gotta say drill instructor first that was their first names,
Yeah, exactly.
The reason I asked, obviously because I'm heavily involved with the veterans community, and it's just it's interesting to see the type of personality someone has that does what something like you do. So a verbal stance, a physical stance of this is what I believe in. I'm going to do it because this is my right as a human being. Might not be your law, but morally, this is what I am accepting to do. I'm willing to take the consequences for living the way I want to live. And you see that a lot with the people that are even just willing to join the military. Whether or not they go to some unfounded war or stuck on a stateside. But I appreciate you telling me about that. I don't think I've ever really asked that much about your time in service before. So with the legislation coming up, the voting in November, you think it should just be scrapped? It's just something that.
Well, I think personally, and I tell people this personally, I think it's going to pass. And I think it's going to be passed because a lot of people are naive as to what's going to happen. All right, but I do think it's going to pass. More than 60% of people say they're in favor of legalization, so that means that it passed. But I was hoping to raise enough awareness as to what's going to happen afterwards. I've publicly voiced my opinion that I'm against this scheme, and I hope somehow it interprets later into some type of power, some type of fight to include people like me afterwards. But I think the plan right now, the scheme right now, me and people like me are just shit out of luck in New Jersey. We're just like tough. Well, we're making this law. We're going to make this law, and we're going to make it for these corporations, and the rest of you mom and pop type people, you black marketeers, just shit out of luck.
Yeah, it's and I'm not sure whether or not Alaska did the regulations afterwards or before or after Proposition 2 came on to the ballots. But I know for a fact there's a cannabis charged and convicted license holder in Alaska that is currently selling legal cannabis. I'm pretty positive it was a felony. And hopefully that if they do decide to go, the people vote in favor of it, that when they make the regulations, they allow for someone without a deep pocket and a lot of resources that the neighborhood Weedman might not have,
Right.
And it's a job creator. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything better than a new group of entrepreneurs. Maybe not in this room, but
I say this to people all the time in New Jersey, and it applies in other states too. But right now, there is no legal market in New Jersey. We have medical marijuana. There's 7 dispensaries in the state of New Jersey. I don't know. A phone call just came through. All right. There's 7 dispensaries in the state of New Jersey, and maybe 50,000 medical marijuana, 60,000 medical marijuana patients. Okay. So, but they estimate there's 800,000 daily smokers. Well, who supplies those 800,000 people? The black market does. So right now, currently, I'd say 85 to 90% of the daily smokers in the state of New Jersey get their marijuana from the existing black market. But yet they're creating this so-called cannabis industry, which I also compare to Columbusization. You know how Columbus came to America and found it? Well, the same thing with this cannabis industry. They don't sell nothing in the state. The New Jersey Cannabis Business Association, for instance, most of them are a bunch of rich white guys who look at this as a commodity. They don't sell marijuana. Most of them aren't even into that game. And now they are the authority in marijuana. Like the existing market, the existing black market isn't there, but they're trying to steal it because they can sure see the black marketeers are providing marijuana to 800,000 people in the state of New Jersey, and they're stealing that market. They got the politicians and the corporations coming, and they're going to steal that market and leave the black marketeers with our thumbs up our butts. And again, this is one of them things like, nope, I'm not going out that easy.
Yeah, one of the things with recreational, which I've seen pretty much in every state, is a distance between the facility and a school or a church. And it's usually like 500 meters or 500 yards, I believe. And I don't know, and anything can really qualify for it. It's like if you have a daycare or something, and a couple doors down, that'll disqualify your facility. There's a lot of ins and outs of it. At least what I've seen so far. I mean, New Jersey is a completely different animal. Jersey plays by their own rules. I think Jersey, Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of influence there. That's extremely.
It's the Soprano state.
There you go. Yeah. I was looking for a word for that. But it can be it's something that you're gonna have to fight for, which you've already been doing. You know, and with having the population understand what you mean by it. Because right now, I mean, if I wasn't involved in the marijuana industry and I just smoked occasionally, all I would know is stopping by New Jersey Weedman's joint, grabbing some weed, magically just falls behind his bar, and that's where my weed comes from. You know, there's so many things in the background, and you know this growing in California. It's something that takes passion. It's not just mass producing a pill or something like that.
Yeah, no, there's a whole culture and everything that comes with marijuana, and that's what they're trying to eradicate. Also, these big corporations, they're not going to have the culture of marijuana with it. And like, I've gone to dispensaries. I've never gone to one in New Jersey, to be honest with you. Just I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I've gone to some in different states, California, Washington State, Oregon, and I remember going to, like, when I was living in LA. I like going to a little mom and pop style store, the place that, the hippie was behind the counter, the dude with the beard and the long hair and listening to reggae music. That was the type of dispensary I would go to. And I hated going to those corporate looking ones where they were using tongues and everyone had on smocks and all that. And they talked all preppy. Yeah, I didn't like those types. But that's the type that's coming to New Jersey. Right now, the 7 ATCs that are here, alternative treatment centers, that's what they are. They're that corporate style. It's a commodity to them. And, I don't even want to have anything to do with those. That's why I've never even go to ones in New Jersey. They need the mom and pop type stuff. They need the little reggae bar. They need the little, hideaway, the speakeasy type place.
Absolutely. That's why it's the beauty of cannabis, specifically recreational. It's something that brings people together in most of the time nonviolent ways, and have very good interactions with people. It's a whole culture, like you said, and it's important to try to maintain that instead of having to wait out. I talked to somebody this morning. They were waiting in line for an hour or two for $58 eighth, and a $70 3/4 gram of wax. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I just told you $30 an eighth with me, and grams of wax, or it varies between 30 and $50 too. Vape pens, edibles, like, it's unbelievable. First, now I know these big legal stores, they have big overheads and they can't sell things for super cheap. I even understand that, to be honest with you, but that still does not affect my thinking when it comes to supply and demand. It comes from the people. The people, if they want to pay for $80 eighths, then so be it. But most people can afford a $30 eighth, and that's where the supply and demand comes from. If you can supply it for $30 an eighth, then just $30 an eighth.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always a fan of the $5 pre-roll. But it's important. I think to maintain the culture, especially because the people this culture are the ones that made cannabis legal. The politicians weren't sitting there. Some of them were, but verbally against cannabis and or verbally for cannabis. I remember when I first came to MassCann, MassCann Normal's Boston Freedom Rally. It was completely it was a game changer for me. I couldn't believe people were sitting in Boston Commons just smoking. Like it was legal in Alaska when I did it, but they've been doing this for 30 years.
Right.
Yeah, MassCann.org is.
I don't know if you can see. Can you still see me?
No, I cannot.
I can't see. I don't know. I got a text and it knocked the video off, and now I can't seem to get it back. I'm not sure how to get it back.
Well, it's a great picture of you. Anyway, did you draw that yourself?
No. One of my customers.
Yeah.
Is an artist.
Yeah, no, it's impressive. I was trying to figure out a way to use that for the banner at first. It's an awesome picture.
Yeah, I can't seem to get you guys back. I don't know how to do it. All right, I'm just gonna play with this phone, but I can still talk though. I can hear you.
Yeah, no, we can hear you fine. We have about 5 minutes left. I'm just gonna leave it open to you. Is there anything that you'd like to say, that words of encouragement to people to maybe?
Well, I tell you what. Here's the one thing that's happening, and it's happening in other parts of the country. It's happened in Ohio, for instance. The corporate guys were coming in, and the people stood up and resisted it and successfully voted it down. Well, that's what's happening in New Jersey. There are people who want to resist, but we're not funded by anybody. Just a bunch of rabble rousers, I guess you would call us, that we're opposing. And just recently, I started putting commercials on TV, like smack dab on TV. And I know a couple other activists who want to do something similar. And I mean, to be honest with you, that's what we really need. We really need funding. We really need, and I don't need $1 from my pocket. I don't need $1 in weed to smoke. I don't need anything, but some help and assistance and resisting this corporatization. That's what I need. And I would need it to come from out of state would be fine. There are people in other states who are going to have to deal with this problem at some point too. That the governments or our government officials or ex-government officials all line up with the corporations to cut out the little guys. And I don't know if we can get any type of help that way, that would be perfect. Like, for instance, like I said, I'm running commercials. A couple weeks ago, I sold a couple pounds of weed, and I took the proceeds directly and put these commercials on TV. They actually run out this week, and I plan on doing it again, paying for some commercials. And in fact, I told a guy in California, he actually sent me 2 pounds of weed to finance a couple commercials. But so and even my commercial, at the end of the commercial, it says paid for by the legalized marijuana party.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Say that again.
I was wondering about who they were, where viewers could potentially look at to give you some funding.
Well, they're on my page. I'm actually getting ready to put up a GoFundMe page, and I'm getting ready to do it, not a GoFundMe, a Indiegogo page, and I'm going to do it under the legalized marijuana party, and I'm going to explain that we're trying to air these commercials over the next 3 months until November. And so maybe I did this show a little too soon, but I will send you the link once I complete that. I'll send you the link, and maybe you can send it out. And MassCann's has a lot of people. I think in Massachusetts they're going through a lot of that too, where just these corporate people are there, and the little guys, the people who've been in it for a long time, have been shut out. Now, I don't know all the details because I'm in New Jersey, and I pay attention more to New Jersey than I do, say, Massachusetts or Nevada or something. So, but I do know that this is something that's happening everywhere. Mm-hmm. And yes, I do play the race card, and I am saying that Black people are getting shut out, but it's really the Black markets getting shut out. It's really little guys, poor guys are getting shut out. Poor women are getting shut out as the big corporations come in and steal our commodity, steal our, our industry, and they're renaming it. They're renaming it and claiming that like they found it, like Christopher Columbus did. Like it really feels that way. Like, wow, I feel like a Native American. Christopher Columbus came and found America. I got these guys now. They came and found the cannabis industry. I'm like, what? Wait a minute. I've been selling weed, and everybody I know has been selling weed for years, and you suddenly came and found this industry? Where's your market? Oh, that's what you're planning on stealing. I get it now. That's what it is.
Yeah, once you find a way to make money off of something, it's came a long way to banking to even consider cannabis money, and it's coming around right now. There's pilot programs going on throughout the country with interstate credit unions. And, it's becoming so regular now that yeah, that's the direction it's going in, unfortunately. And, I'll make sure that the MassCann.org or MassCann knows to throw up njweedman.com. Is that?
Well, I tell you what, on my Facebook page, I'll probably post it there because I'm not sure. I don't want to send somebody to the wrong place. But if you go to my Facebook page, either Ed Fortune or NJ Weedman, I'll very soon have links to it there. I'm right in the middle of doing that. Like we already made one commercial, which is running right now on Comcast. And we got 2 more that we're getting ready to make. And when I made those, I was going to put out a GoFundMe to have them aired in different counties around New Jersey.
Great. Oh, fantastic! I think your life has been it's something that could be really. It's the best citizens that a government can have are the ones that stand up for the injustice of the people. I completely. There's not enough people that do it. If one person decides not to pay taxes on something that's completely inflated and fabricated, they're going to just put them in jail. But you have 90% of people not pay the taxes on it. Then you got something there, and that's where change comes. You can agree that there's an unjust law and decide that you're not going to abide by it, and it takes some big balls to be able to do stuff like that.
Yeah, really exactly. That's why I've always respected the civil rights movement, and there are different other movements, the suffrage movement. There are different segments and movements in this country over the years that predicated themselves on, disregarding the law or violating the law, and acts of disobedience in order to change the law. And that's all I really do. I blatantly do it though. I get my publicity.
You get attention when you do it. I mean, that was something else. Walking down the Main Street in Trenton with you in your prison jumpsuit, letting the public know that you're going to sell weed on at the governor's office.
Yeah. So people have
awareness, and you got a lot of respect from a lot of people. I've had people bring it up to me up here in Alaska. So you're planting that seed in more ways than one, I guess.
And to the listeners who don't quite know exactly what we're talking about, if you Google, I sold weed at my governor's office, you'll see a Vice News story that we're talking about. And you'll see Pearson on there too.
Yeah.
So that's the title of that Vice clip. I sold weed at my governor's office. So if you listeners that Google that, you'll see the clip he's talking about, where I basically put on my jail uniform, which I stole from jail when I got out of jail. But I put on my jail uniform to do my protest, and my protest was, about this whole weed thing not being the little guys. And I went to the governor's office to protest by sitting in front of his office and selling weed.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's worth a watch. But we're going to wrap up. So I want to thank MassCann.org for allowing me and Ed to come on today. It's important that people get to hear these stories and just understand that if there's something going wrong, you need to address it. Don't just sit by idle and let it affect other people when there should be a change.
Right.
I will be coming back on soon in the next week or so with with an Alaska regulator, along with another Jersey activist who's actually on the other side of the aisle from you, Ed. I think you're familiar with Lefty. So I think.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So,
I didn't realize that, but oh boy.
Well,
No,
no,
I'm
no,
not going to throw any negatives out because we
I
me and
don't
Lefty
know if
been
I left it
friends.
out, but
Huh?
I told him it was one-on-one only. Not
Yeah.
only, but you're.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We're friends. I've been friends with him for a long time, but yeah,
Oh,
on
I
this
know. Yeah,
issue we went separate ways.
yeah. No, I think you two have a completely different shock value when it comes to legalization and what you believe in. Not you guys believe in the same goal. You have different tactics, and I think it's both. They're both unique, and they both need to be addressed. And uh, in no way is it some type of a conflict. I think. Well, I mean, you guys are conflicting right now, but
Yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good.
yeah. That being said, thanks for joining us. Myself. And MassCan's, really appreciate it, Ed, and to the viewers, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. I don't know how I lost my video feed. I can't get it back up. But all right, thanks.